Hi, Sheila Guffey here with Creative Aging. Today we are going to practice some more watercolor techniques, and we are going to do monochromatic mountains, which monochromatic means the same color but different shades. And so for both of these, it's the exact same color of paint, we're just using more and less water. And so this is a really good exercise to help you gain control over your water and how much it's being used and just using your brush. So this is actually a little harder than it looks. I mean, it's not too complicated. I think all of you are very capable of doing this, but it looks super simple, but it really is, it does take a lot of practice to get control over watercolor painting. So I think this would be a good thing for everybody to learn. And you can choose whatever color you want today. This is the burgundy that I think is in everybody's set. It's right there. And then this one is just the royal blue. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with the darkest, and then we're gonna work our way back to where we're just gonna use more water. And you're probably gonna need a test sheet of paper just to make sure you get the exact shade that you want. And then back in the back, this is almost painting with just your dirty water. You're not even gonna use color. And this is also going to kind of give you a feel of atmospheric perspective. The further away mountains or anything gets in the distance, usually you see atmosphere. So see how it looks kind of foggy? If you take a photograph outside or a landscape, you'll notice it's in photography too. So this is going to be, really good for perspective as well. Okay, let's get started. You're going to need a full sheet of watercolor paper today. I think the bigger you work, the easier it's going to be, and I really want you to get really good practice. Sometimes, you can do half sheets of paper, but for this one, I think full sheet's probably the best. And if you want a border, this is just using painter's tape, and you can just tape it around the edges and then peel it off at the end. I'm going to do one without today on the lesson plan, just so you can see the difference. So if you like this border, it's just taping the edges, painting, and then carefully peeling the tape off. So you'll need your paper. You're obviously going to need your watercolor set. You know what? We're making this really easy. We do not need many brushes, so just maybe go with one brush. I'm going to choose this flat brush that's medium. And this is a softer bristle. You don't want to use anything too coarse because it can rough up your paper. And so be mindful of the kind of brushes that you're using. And, I would try to find one that's just a little bit softer. There's a few brushes I think we passed out that are coarse, and they'll be great for acrylics or some other projects, but not this one. And then get your paper towel and your water cup, as always. So I'm going to move these out of the way. And, all right. And I'm going to use one of my paper towels just for testing the color to make sure that I have the colors I'd like to use. So for the first part, you're just going to use a little bit of water and a ton of paint because we want this first mountain to be the very darkest. And you're welcome to use whatever color you want. I might do a dark purple this time because I haven't done one yet. So I'm going to go purple right here. And so I'm putting water, and then I want a ton of paint. I might even go over this a second time because this has to be the very darkest that my watercolor set will allow it. All right, and it doesn't matter how you want to do your mountains, just they could be pointy or they could be rounded. We're just really doing this more for practice. I know a lot of times we do projects that you could hang on the wall and, you know, it's just more something that you'll always finish, that you'll be proud of, that you could give as a gift or hang on the wall. Today, this one is definitely more just to help you get better at watercolor painting. You might hang it on the wall, I don't know, but maybe not. So see, it is kind of hard to get this dark. I'm gonna put a little more water on it and do this again. So see how I'm dipping it back in quite a bit. I don't actually like the mountains the way they look, so I'm going to change it. Of course, you can always change as you're painting. I think I want this bottom one to just be more gradual, so I'm going to get rid of that point right there. I don't like it. There we go. I'm going to move this water cup. I know I'm putting my arm right in front of the frame. Okay. It's just hard to get my camera perfect to where you can see everything, and I want you to be close up enough too. I can't wait to be back in my facilities teaching. Online just isn't the same, and I really miss everybody, and just hope everybody's doing good. I just am looking forward to being back to normal. Hopefully it's coming soon. So this takes a while. You got to really, it just takes some bit of time, and you might want to do this mountain even smaller because you just need it to be the darkest that you can have. Otherwise, it's going to be a lot harder. If you don't have this first mountainscape as dark as your color will let you go, it's going to be a lot harder to lighten up. Okay. And I can always go over this again if I want. So now let's work on the next one. And I'm going to just go right above here. This time, you're going to use a lot more water. Now, this is why you need your paper towel, because you really need it to be gradual. Otherwise, you're not going to get the lightest up here. Okay, so you want to make maybe, you want 5 different shades of this purple. So I'm going to get a little more water in there, test it on my paper towel. And I think that'll work. You can always lighten it up too if you need to use your paper towel to blot. So now I'm going to just go right above and get my outline. And this, you can do whatever shape you want. I don't want you to focus so much on what the mountain looks like. I want you to focus on the variation of shades. And so as you see, I'm getting more color. I want to make that darker, but I just wanted to make my first line. So now remember, watercolor paint always dries a little lighter. Keep that in mind. So if you did get that too dark to start, you can always add more water and lighten it up a little bit. If you, if you don't get it dark enough, you can always go over it again. So it just takes just a little time. And then get right to the edge. I don't want you to go too much into your other mountain, but if you do, that's okay too. Now you don't want your water to drip down into the mountain because it will lighten your bottom one up. So try not to get too much water to where it's going to drip all the way down. And so you see how light it got down there. I'm going to add more because that got too light and I need to darken it up. And you'll notice too, every color that we use in this set kind of responds a little differently. I would say the purple is for sure a little harder because it is the darkest color, and you see more streaks. So I wanted to do this color to show you the difference at the end between the blue and the kind of reddish. Every color is different. It's helpful to learn that and get used to it, and then you're going to be able to work with it better down the line and get exactly what you want. Because we definitely do a lot of watercolor painting, especially at Christmas. It'll be fun. We'll make some watercolor Christmas cards that everyone can mail out. We might do some Thanksgiving cards too. Those are always fun. And nobody expects an actual watercolor painting for a card, you know. Okay, let's go ahead and go to the next color. We can definitely come back to this later if we need to touch it up in any way. I am going to get it darker right here though. And then next one, use more water. Okay, so see how much water I'm putting in? Quite a bit. I don't know if you can see it. Test it on your paper towel just to see. I might need a little more water. I'm just gonna. And then let's go to the next one. And if you want to actually look at mountains or something from a vacation that you've been on, please do. That would make this more fun and more personal if you want to look at a picture of somewhere you've been. And so I think I'm going to just continue spreading this out. I think it'll end up being the shade that I need. But this is where it gets tricky because, I mean, they're really similar. You just make it a tiny bit lighter each time. I'm going to use a little more water. But I'm going to continue using, I'm not going to put any more paint on my brush right now. I'm just going to use the water just so I can see what's happening. And now I do need a little more paint right there. And every so often you might want to pause and just see what you're doing and what you need to darken up or lighten up. There we go. We need more at the bottom. Okay, let's continue, and a lot more water this time. And let's see. You know, I think my brush is pretty dirty. I'm just gonna paint with the water for a little bit, and then I'll add a little bit of color on it, because this, you've got, your water's gonna be dirty at this point. So especially with the purple, it gets dark really fast. So you can start painting with just your dirty water. So can you see that? That's just my water. There's no paint. And so I think that might actually end up being the shade that I want. I might just have to add a little bit of color here at the end, but let's go ahead and just paint with the dirty water and see how it's looking. Just a tiny bit more color. Okay, and then we'll get right down there, and then the last mountain, we're just gonna paint with the dirty water, and we're probably gonna blot the dirty water away, just to make it the very lightest. So we can do 1 to 2 more mountains after this, and then we'll probably touch up a couple of the others. And I hope you're taking way more time to do this. And remember, now if you're using a lot of water, your watercolor paper might start shedding a little bit. If it does that, just kind of take a little break, give it a rest. Don't keep working it, because it could create a little tear in your paper. The brand that we deliver to everybody is actually pretty good, so it doesn't shed very often. Now, if you have a different brand that you bought yourself, every kind is different, and so you know, it just depends. You know, I bought some watercolor pads on sale that are pretty much the same price as this one that we buy, and I swear it's terrible. Sometimes you just get bad quality just for like 50 cents less. Okay, so let's just paint with the water on this last one. I'm gonna move this closer to you because I know there's a glare. There we go. I don't want you to think that was white over there. And you know what? Let's go all the way to the top. You can leave some of it white in the background, but I'm just gonna paint the whole thing. And let's just paint it with just the dirty water at this point, see how it looks. If we need to add any extra color, we can. And you know, we could even, maybe I'll do one more mountain just to show you. So if you wanted to just leave it this light pink in the background, if you want to do one more, we'll do one more. Do one extra one. Okay. So this is where you need to be careful. You need to blot it. Make sure it's not dark. That's too dark. So I'm going to, we'll just do a very small one right here. And so at this point, you know, if it's this far away, it's going to be a little foggy. So if it looks really foggy and blurry, it's okay. It'll be more realistic. So I'm making sure there's a lot of water. Because if you get too dark up here, it's really hard to go backwards. You'll have to basically work on every mountain again if you get too dark. It's harder. You can try lifting some of it away with a paper towel, but you might also have to work on all of them, which is okay. That's okay if you have to do that. You know, it's good practice, but it's annoying. So as you can see, the first and the last one, they are definitely the hardest to get exactly right. And I'm gonna blot away. I'm gonna blot away some of it up top, just to make that last mountain stand out a little more. So I'm gonna go up here and I'm gonna blot a little bit, and I'm gonna use my paper towel to really try to So I'm moving it just to bring out the last mountain. So this paper is still tinted. I mean, it's still got a little color on it, but it's very, very light. Let me hold it up so you can see. And obviously, we need to work on, so the color looks good, but we need to work on smoothing some of these lines out. Now I want to show you the difference. Now see how the purple, it does streak more than this reddish color. Now watercolor is meant to be streaky. I mean, that is part of its effect, but some colors just go on a little differently. So I just wanted to show you the difference of which color. So I'm gonna smooth it out a little bit, especially that one. So let's make sure you get the right color. Get your blotting. So at this point, we can use a little more color, and I'm gonna go over this mountain right here. I wanna bring that shape out, make it a little better. So you can smooth some of these marks out. You just kind of go over them again and just be very mindful of how you're using your brush. Everything you do is going to make a difference. You can see your brush marks for sure. And you can play with your brushes if you want to see what a bigger flat brush might look like. You might like it better. So I'm just smoothing some of these marks out. Sometimes they dry and you see what you did wrong. That already looks better. So I'm going to go over here and do the same. And I want to exaggerate my shape of my mountain. So I'm going to drag this down, and I'm just being a little more slow and a little more mindful of exactly how I'm using my brush. And see right there? That looks messy. And we're going to redo that too. And of course you're going to need more paint. Make it a little darker. And I'm just going to go over this whole top part of the mountain. And I'm just going to smooth over that part that just looked messy. Okay, it's coming together. So continue and keep looking at it, figure out exactly, what you might want to work on. So say I want to do a little bit more right here. You could bring that mountain out a little bit better. So I'm going to go over it again. And that one could be a little, see it, that one lightened up too much. I'm going to make this a little darker. You never know. Sometimes they just really lighten more than you think they will. So you kind of need to see how your watercolor paint is drying and then work on it some more. So I know this looks like it's just so easy, but it really does take a lot of time, a lot of back and forth, kind of doing the same thing to get it exactly the way you like. You can't rush watercolor paints. It just looks like a mess. So I'm gonna give this a break, and I want to go back to the other ones. So this is the blue, and I just want you to kind of look up close on the variation of shades. And so see, you can see the very back. See the white right next to the blue? This is just painting with the water and even dabbing some of it away. So this is very, very light blue, but I just want it to be a little bit darker than the white. So you want it to just be a hair darker than the white, and then this is, of course, the darkest that I could get that blue. Same, let's look at this one. And these mountains are just a little more pointed. Okay, so you can kind of make it your own. Play with, how you're using your brush, and please, if you like this border, I personally like the border better. I think it adds a lot of interest, and then it gives you a starting place, so then you can see the white, and then your purple is going to be just a little bit darker. So yeah, use your just blue painter tape if you have it. And just do your border and then untape it at the end, being careful. Make sure your painting's totally dry when you're taking your tape off. And if these curl, so after they're done, this one curled a little bit, not much, but if it curls, you can always put these under a book and just leave the book on it overnight and they'll flatten back out. So the watercolor paper will curl once it's getting wet. And so up here, you can see it curled more at the top because we used more water up here. All right, so try to have fun with these monochromatic mountains, and I hope that afterwards you have a better feel of your control of the water. This really will help you. I think it's a good exercise, and yeah, next time we're gonna do something totally different. I'll see you then. Bye.